Hi, I am Erica Pitts. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist associate and a PhD student at Texas Wesleyan University. I'm here today to talk about the importance of conducting research in the field of marriage and family therapy. As a PhD student, a lot of times the program that you go into will require some type of competency in research. Many times a master's program will also require some type of competency as well. In the field of marriage and family therapy, there is not a lot of research that exists that over the course of time of the existence of marriage and family therapy compared to other programs, or I guess other professions similar, the research that exists is not super extensive. A lot of it is dated, or no new information has been found since these original studies. As a PhD student, there's a lot of there's expectation to be able to conduct research, but many times people go into counseling or the counseling profession, it doesn't have to be MFT, in order to work with clients. A lot of times when we graduate, we expect to work in private practice or agency settings. A lot of times we suffer through the research part of our degree and then hope to never touch it again. In order to contribute to the field of marriage and family therapy, it is my personal belief that we should continue to submerge ourselves in research. Sometimes that's not enough. Sometimes we need to go that step further in order to contribute to the conversation. A lot of times we have a lot of questions about things that aren't researched yet. We may have different angles or different insights. But because a lot of us are very scared of research or find it incredibly boring, that we don't decide to actually become involved in that process. A lot of times clinicians have the argument that they don't enjoy reading research because it's in a language that's not really easy to understand, the results aren't easy to interpret, and the information that they gain from that research article is not easily applicable. It's not translated into terms that clinicians can use, and they can't apply it to their practice. Very similarly, people in research, they're not super interested, usually if they're just conducting research, they're not interested in the practice side of things. That finding answers to questions is important, but then figuring out what to do about the information that they have is where sometimes we're at a loss. Because there's this disconnect between private practice or agency setting and research, a lot of times the information that it interests one doesn't interest the other. And so research exists in the field of marriage and family therapy, but it isn't really translated into a way that's applicable to clinicians, which is why I'm here to talk to you today about the importance of clinicians conducting research and being involved in that process. As a lot of us know, marriage and family therapy is not a very big field. That it has existed the shortest amount of time of the other counseling or helping professions, and of those, it has the least amount of research that exists in that field. So being a marriage and family therapist, in and of itself, it's important to be able to conduct research, or at least be involved in what the research says about marriage and family therapists, or maybe systemic thinking. Additionally, being involved in this process promotes validity of the field. Continuing the research process and not just relying on articles that have existed from the 1960s fosters new ideas. It asks different types of questions about things that we maybe know a lot about. It allows the opportunity for doors to open in different areas of research, maybe trying different approaches with populations that haven't been tested or researched before, and it continues to evolve and develop the field of marriage and family therapy in the helping profession as a whole. So much has not been discovered yet. In my personal life, I find it very difficult to find research that answers the questions I'm interested in answering. And a lot of the research, like I said, just doesn't exist yet. So I believe it's up to me to be able to contribute to that conversation in a way that could potentially help other clinicians as well. So I have come up with some tips on how to submerge yourself into research if you're not already doing so. One is find a topic that interests you. It's very difficult to get interested in a topic or continuing to see the research study to the end if it's a topic that's not interesting to you. Research can take a long time sometimes, and it has a lot of different steps to it. So finding something that gets you energized and excited all the way through is beneficial. Additionally, look at the research that already exists in that topic. So if you're interested in looking at attachment styles or figuring out how to help clinicians improve attachment styles between adults and children and their children, it may be beneficial to already see what exists. Attachment in general is a very broad topic, and it includes an extensive amount of research that already exists. So figuring out what already exists, what part of the conversation you want to be a part of, and figuring out how to make that feasible. Additionally, it might be important to figure out how you would like to add to the conversation. So if your topic is something really broad, as you continue to submerge yourself into research, you may start to fine-tune that topic, or you may be interested in looking at a specific area that hasn't been researched yet. As you do that, you might figure out how you would like to contribute to the conversation that exists. Instead of just looking at attachment styles, you may be interested in looking at attachment styles of adopted children before the age of 3. That now has become a very specific topic and something that doesn't have a lot of research that already exists. And then lastly, one thing that I like to do when conducting my own research, in order to make it, for me to stay on task without kind of getting sidetracked by all the research that already exists, I ask myself the question of, how can I use this on Monday? In my personal life, I am primarily a therapist. I spend a majority of my time seeing clients one-on-one. So when I look at research, I look at it through a clinician's brain. And I ask myself, this information may be useful, but how can I apply it to the work I'm already doing on Monday? What about this contributes to the conversation in a way that will help other clinicians as well, to hopefully bridge the gap between research and clinician. So hopefully one day they can be seen as one and the same, as opposed to polar opposites. As of right now, that's kind of what I have, the information that I have, and I would love to know more if anyone has any thoughts or suggestions on how to fine-tune that even more. Thank you for your time, and I appreciate any feedback.